can organize the body of the presentation very logically, as I suggested in the previous slide. You can slowly start by contextualizing with rule rehearse, well body, and then you can go for a complementary close. So when appropriate, plan ways to encourage audience participation. Well, the biggest problem that we are facing right now in online presentations is the audience participation. So in between, we cannot do that. So some some kind of noise is coming. So if you can.
I apologize, sir. We have stopped her.
Okay. So you organize the body of your presentation logically and make it easy to follow. We can probably start simply and then we move on to complex ideas. But we should also try to make the complex ideas simple and understandable. When appropriate, we can always encourage audience participation. So you may have seen in online presentations also, from time to time, we try to ask this question whether we are audible, whether somebody is following us, and maintain credibility, discuss the pros and cons both, so that your talk is not obviously one-sided or colored in some kind of lopsided. I can conclude on a high note by including an overall summary and proposing action plan. Fine. So that is how your presentation will look. So, what kind of style? You say style is man, and we all have our presentation styles. As just as participants, you have been listening to a lot of people, and all of us, I'm sure, may be having our own presentation style. While none of us can really make a tall claim that my style is better than yours, or my style is the only kind of style that may be followed, we can certainly contribute something by way of our unique style. Effective presenters recognize that communication is both intellectual and personal, and that's why ideas are presented in such a way that they provide us both kinds of feed, intellectual as well as emotional. Fine. So we can convey our control and enthusiasm for our subject rather than turning fanatics. Many times I find that some people turn fanatic when they are talking about something, or they turn so poetic that the audience loses the connect, or talk about something like a bygone. Well, this mostly happens with political speakers who are propagating a particular kind of idea or a particular kind of political philosophy. So when they talk about their own political philosophy, they turn fanatic, and in that process, their enthusiasm sometimes turns into over-enthusiasm, and over-enthusiasm leads to loss of any kind of rational thinking. So that's why I would suggest that while having enthusiasm is certainly desirable in a presenter, because as presenters, if we don't have enthusiasm, our audience will not connect with us, and they will certainly go to sleep. Fine. So, but then we have to learn to control our enthusiasm. Our enthusiasm should not, take precedence over our intellectual or rational disposition. Right? So you may pay close attention to your posture, your gestures, your tone, because that reflects your entire attitude and personality during your presentation. So if you're distraught, if you are sunken, if you are dragging your feet, or if you are pacing to and fro, I mean, these are all gestures and postures that are not really desirable in an effective speaker, because people would like to see how composed are you, right? So while showing your enthusiasm, while showing your dynamism, you also need to control that and plan it in such a way that it does not look like overdoing. Your audience will mirror your attitude. So if I'm confident, if I'm involved in my topic, if I exude some kind of confidence, some kind of positivity, the same will be mirrored in my audience as well. But if I'm distraught, if I'm disinterested, if I'm pompous, if I'm indulging in bombast, and if I'm not paying any attention to my audience, obviously my audience will also not be interested in my talk. So in nutshell, I can say that your audience is the most important ingredient in your presentation. So not for a second you can afford to lose sight of your audience. Don't confuse enthusiasm with loudness. Enthusiasm does not mean loudness. Some people are very loud. Their voices start boring. They start breaking. They start making gestures and postures that are not only animated, but then sometimes they are over animated. And people find it difficult to digest that. So that's why we are all living in, you know, a refined world. So of enthusiasm should also be refined. Loudness does not mean enthusiasm. Enthusiasm is something very positive. So it's not necessary that for conveying your enthusiasm you raise your voice or tone. Don't confuse enthusiasm with loudness. Try to convey a range of emotions from concern, anticipation, excitement, dismay. Okay? And wherever appropriate, you can candidly discuss both the pros and cons. In that, probably, if you want to sound positive, it's always a good idea to talk about the advantages first, followed by the challenges or risks, rather than, because you may have heard about, glass filled with water, half empty or half filled. Fine. So people say that if you can see the half filled part first and later on see the half empty part, that means you are positive. Otherwise, you are negative, because you could see the negativity first and positivity later on. So likewise, friends, I'll say that while talking during your presentation, first of all, you talk about positives, and then after you talk about challenges. Now, how can you engage your audience? There are some safe ways to engage your audience. So what do we do initially when we start presenting? We start talking to our audience, we throw some questions, we invite their attention, we want them to talk to us. So you start interacting and building that kind of rapport with your audience. That will make your job easier. Video and media can also be used to create interest in your talk. You can add stories, anecdotes, testimonials, analogies, demonstrations. Well, you see, you need to infuse humor very appropriately in your talk, because otherwise people will easily get bored and it will sound very monotonous. That's why some timely jokes, but then you need to be very cautious. We are living in a world where people are very touchy, and that's why as intellectual discourses, we need to take care of humor. Humor also has to be in good taste. It has to be innocent humor. not at the cost of some caste, creed, community, or gender. So you try to cultivate humor appropriately in your talk, but then always be sure that your humor is directed at bringing smiles on the faces rather than frowns. Fine. And this also is a very difficult art. Fine. I quote this line from a Chandan Das Gadal. घर से मस्जिद है बहुत दूर चलो यूं कर लें, घर से मस्जिद है बहुत दूर चलो यूं कर लें, किसी रोते हुए बच्चे को हंसाया जाए. The best attribute that the God has given to some people is that they have the ability to bring smiles on all crying faces. Well, friends, as presenters, if you can bring smiles to the faces of your audience, you are certainly successful as a presenter. Well, while talking about the body language, I'm not going deep into that because you can have a separate session on that. I think eyes are the most expressive organs in our face. They are like the camera holes, and we capture each and everything through our eyes. These eyes are also a means to reach out to our audience. So, if we are really interested in our audience, we should try to establish eye to eye contact with our audience. Fine? But mind it, friends, when doing that, you pay full attention to everybody, not one individual or a group of individuals. So as a presenter, you have to be very democratic. Fine? So you can use eye contact as your primary tool for establishing audience involvement. You can look at them in random rotating order. You can avoid some oddity of gestures like putting your hand in pocket, jingling some change or coins, or toying with your notes, or tearing your hair, or tugging at your ear, or scratching your nose. I mean, though such behavior is unconscious, and many a time we are not aware that we are doing that, but since the professional presentations are professional moments, we need to be very cautious, and we need to plan our gestures and postures also cautiously. So there cannot be an excuse that this is something which happened, involuntarily. There are certain things that happen, but even then, uh, we need to train ourselves with good presence of mind so that we don't indulge in any kind of oddity of gestures. We can probably use signpost phrases to guide our audience to the next section or next segment of our talk, because what happens other than that, the audience has no way to anticipate what is being talked about, whether you are making a transition from one to another. While transitions have to be seamless, this is also important to throw some kind of hint that you are making a shift from this stage to that stage. So for that, we use some signpost phrases like, you know, um, to open a new section of your speech, you might say, point number 2 of my presentation is, or next step of my presentation is. Then you can start with the bottom line. Then you can present the evidence. Then you can again begin with some signpost phrase. Let me give you some more examples. Let me add to what I have been saying. Let me further clarify something. Or to summarize the whole thing, I'd like to say that this is how our presentations can be effective. Now we are coming to, almost the end of our talk. As I proposed, I'll be winding up by 3:30. So I'll keep up to that promise so that we have enough time for, you know, um, interaction. So, well, we have been talking about how to design our presentations, what are the prerequisites. So one thing has certainly come out and it stands out is our concern for our audience. So if we invest in our audience, obviously other things will fall in place. So think about your audience, try to know about their background, their level of understanding, their expectations, their cultural background, and their proper mix. Who will be in the audience, age group, their domain knowledge, and lot of things. Be clear about your purpose. So your purpose will determine how will you plan your presentation. So if you are going to motivate people, then you will bring in lot of motivational stuff. Probably you would like to bring lot of motivational quotations or motivational videos or video clips. Fine. And you might like to refer to those legendary motivational speakers like Lincoln and Gandhi and Martin Luther and many more. Okay, if you are in the role of a coach, so obviously you will be talking about your particular game. You may be talking about the technical nuances of that game and the game plan. If you are advocating a case, obviously you will be acting like an advocate, where you will try to persuasively, advocate your case, bringing all sorts of, evidences and claims to support your argument. When you are explaining something to somebody, obviously you will bring all the facts and figures and will try several alternatives to explain your idea so that the people don't really miss it out. For that, I have one recipe again, and this is a classic three-stage formula that always works. Well, so we start, tell your audience what you are going to do. Tell them and tell them what you told them. So tell them what you are going to do is your introduction. So you introduce your topic that I am going to talk about this topic and situate it. Then tell them that is your main or core of your presentation, and then tell them what you told them, that is your summary. So if you plan your presentation this way, obviously people will not lose sight of your presentation and message, because the same message is repeated at least 3 times. What do you want the audience to know, feel, or believe afterwards? You ask yourself. Do you want your audience to dance to your tune? Do you want your audience to ask questions? Do you want your audience to be a presenter like you? Well, whatever may be an answer to that, that will help you plan your presentation. Use an effective introduction. Organize your presentation clearly and simply, as I suggested. You can probably start in your own comfort zone, start slowly and simply, and move on to the complex ideas. Because when you start slowly, people are also getting attuned to your presentation, and they are also able to follow what is being said later on. So it's always a good idea to start slowly and simply, and then move from simple to complex. Um, so organize your presentation clearly and simply. Compose for the ear as well as the eye. Now this is important. So you don't only have to, plan your PPTs with lot of graphics, lot of animations, and lot of, you know, um, um, colorful stuff. You also need to probably think about the message that you are orally conveying, your language, your selection of language, words, and message. Right? So a good presenter is one who is not undesirable, rather who plans his presentation in such a way that the slides are complementary and supplementary rather than they substitute the speaker himself. So if your students start saying कि सर स्लाइड हमको भेज दो और आपको आप लोग वो ध्यान नहीं दे रहे हैं, तो आपको स्लाइड चेंज करने की आवश्यकता है. स्लाइड को एकदम सिंपल बनाइए ताकि बच्चे स्लाइड से ज़्यादा आपसे पूछें. So compose for the ear as well as the eye. Conclude effectively. Effective conclusion. Well, well begun is half done, but all is well that ends well. So you have to plan each and every of your presentation according to the time at your disposal, and accordingly you have to decide what portion of your presentation will be given what weightage. But it would always be appreciated if you are able to conclude it within that time frame with a clear cut conclusion, and at the conclusion you give a clear call to action or takeaway, end on a high, challenge your audience with some kind of future initiative or some kind of uh, some kind of action. So now if you ask me why did I talk about all these things, my obvious objective in making this presentation is that we need to understand the gravity of a presentation, its nuances, its technicalities, so that we are better prepared. And whenever we are making a presentation in our professional life, we are prepared and we give our best, and we take care of not only our audience, message, language, and technical support. We also look at our body language, look at our message that we want to deliver, and lot of other things. Always end on a high, so that when you end, people get a feeling of finality rather than they believe that it all ended abruptly. So this is all I wanted to talk about. Thank you very much for your patience and attention. It is 3:29, so I propose that I'll wind up by 3:30.
जी
So
जी.
thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for this informative session. And you truly said that presentation do not come naturally. They have to be made, performed. And for this, we need skill. And I am certain that all the strategic tools that you suggested would certainly help us to better our presentation skills. Now I invite if somebody wants to ask question.
And one thing I would like to add that Sir has very meticulously winded up his presentation within time.
Yes, sir.
Which is the USP of the presentation. USP of the presentation that you should not exceed. Just like for the other speakers, we have to point out, sir, 5 minutes left, 10 minutes left. Please wind up. Please wind up. So, sir, wonderfully presented, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Jajni.
Ji.
Now I invite the questions.
I believe,
Yes,
I
House
believe
is
that
open for the question.
time awareness is the most important thing in a professional presentation.
Right, sir. Of course, sir. Of course.
I mean, we must pay attention.
Right, sir. Thank you,
Yes.
sir. Now the
So
house
I'll
is
be
open for
happy
question.
if you have any comments or anything. I mean, I'd like to hear from you.
As usual, you have received so many accolades in the comment box.
So accolades apart,
So
I
many
would like
appreciative
to,
words.
I'd like to interact with my friends sitting so patiently listening to me. I hand it over to them now, so they can also probably
Yes.
supplement what I have talked about. And if they want me to clarify something, I'll be very happy. Yes, please. You can unmute yourself and you can
So,
put across your
if
question.
anybody is having question, please, we'll be
Hi, sir.
happy to. Yeah, please.
It's me,
Please
Anjana.
introduce yourself.
Yeah, it's
Anjana,
me, Anjana
yes,
from
please.
Kerala. Sir, I have a
Yeah.
doubt. that how you are managing the time within it. Within the time period you just finished the presentation. So how we should also do the same thing, sir? Can you just share that?
Well, before I talk about that, I am reminded of a joke that was floating and that really helped me, prepare myself. There was a legendary professor in BHU. I'm a student of BHU, and there was a legendary professor in uh, journalism department of BHU, and people used to wind up their clocks. He was so perfect and punctual. So everybody wanted to crack this, secret. Sir, how could you be so, punctual and to point up your class just in 60 minutes? 60 minutes means 60 minutes. So one day, what happened? The professor went to his class, and that was the first time he, crossed 60 minutes. So he crossed 60 minutes, and the next one was waiting, but he did not dare, knock at his door because he was a very senior professor. But he crossed the second also. I mean, he talked for 2 hours. Then people thought there is something wrong with him. So then they knocked at his door, and he came out and he said, "What is the matter?" And they said, "Sir, you have engaged your class, for 2 hours." And he said, "How that can be possible? Tell me." "No, no, no. Okay, just wait, I'm coming." And he went out and he came back and he excused himself. Then these people asked him, "Sir, why did you make this mistake today? We always wind our clock looking at you. The time you are going to the class, that is exactly the time for your class. And when you leave, that is exactly the time for leaving." He said, "अरे यार, थोड़ी सी mistake हो गई. Whenever I enter my class, I consume one tablet, and it dissolves exactly at the end of 60 minutes, and I get an idea that I have exhausted my time. But today, by mistake, I consumed the fourth button, and it did not dissolve." So, I mean, jokes apart, but then I'm telling you one thing: all of us have to have some kind of, you know, inclination or some kind of device to remind ourselves that this is the time. And this is not that easy because we tend to talk much more than required. So it's difficult, but I'm telling you one thing: there is something called biological clock, and you may have experienced that in your own lives. When we were children, my father would ask me, "What time do you want to get up tomorrow morning for your morning revisions?" And we would sometimes say, "Papa, 5:30, if you can wake me up." And he will say, "Okay." And there were the people who never used any kind of alarm. And 5 minutes prior to that, he will wake up himself and will make us wake up. Now, I realize the same thing. Every day I get up around 6 o'clock. Even if I have not, fixed up an alarm clock, 5 minutes prior to 6, I get up. And then I look at my mobile, and that's the time. So there is something called biological clock as well. So before going to a classroom, if you can wind up your biological clock, I believe at the end of 55 minutes, you will realize that it's time for you to wind up. Or otherwise, if it is not happening, you can probably set alarm in your mobile phone so that you wind up in time. Am I able to convince you, Anjana?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir. And it's informative to others also, I think so. And it was a great session, sir. and as a participant, I'm feeling so grateful.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
I'm also grateful for your kind participation. Yes.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, please, Amit.
Yes, sir. This is Amit.
Yeah,
Sir,
yeah,
in
Amit,
job,
please,
in
please.
job interview, candidate prepares for the same topic. There are lots of candidates and they have prepared for the same topic, and for the interviewer, it becomes quite repetitive or boring. And then when the candidate goes for the PPT, then how can our PPT save us from? How can our PPTs get our chances maximized for our selection, sir? If the previous
Miss,
candidate
Miss
also repeated that PPT.
Miss
Actually,
Kanchana, please
I could not get your message
off your
clearly.
video.
Yeah, there was some sound disturbance. So probably I could
Miss,
not get the core of your
Kanchana, please.
question. Ajay ji,
Miss
can you
Kanchana,
repeat it? Could you
yes,
hear this question?
Miss Kanchana V. Prahlad, please mute your video, please. Turn off your video, please.
Amit, can you repeat your question?
Yes, sir. Sir, during job interview, it happens that many candidate prepares for the same topic,
Okay. Mhm.
and for the interviewer, this
Yes.
becomes a very repetitive topic. Becomes very repetitive, and they are fed up of or bored of this topic. Then, sir, how can our PPT save us, or how can it get our chances maximized for the selection, sir?
It's good, yes. You are making a very valid point. But let me tell you one thing. Selection committee members are the people who are self-motivated. Fine. So you're right that people after people show the same kind of stuff, and it becomes very repetitive and boring also sometimes. But let me tell you one thing: even if you are making the same presentation, but still, since every presenter is different, we can bring in something different. So it does not become boring even if you are talking about the same stuff. One, because details for each one of us are different, and our way of presenting is also different. I can tell you about my own experience. It happens, you see, if there is no creativity or innovativeness on the part of the presenter, it happens. Would you believe we conducted interviews for PhD admissions for seven consecutive days. 7 consecutive days, and sometimes we would feel that all the candidates are talking the same thing, but then in between we'll come across a candidate who is very effective and who will make us alert, and suddenly we will realize that we are getting a different candidate. So even if you are talking about the same stuff in front of the same selection committee panel, your ability to be creative and innovative, and your ability to invite the attention of the people can really help. Because I believe no two presenters are alike. So even if I give my own slide to you, you may be talking differently. So matter will remain the same, but still the presentation will be different. Fine?
May I ask a question?
Yes, Paramita.
Yes. Actually, while presenting, there's a tendency to fall back on fillers. We take resort to fillers. Okay, very often.
Yes.
How can this habit be avoided?
See, let me tell you one thing. Fillers are used because we are short of ideas. So these fillers give us that much desired time to think and come out with ideas. Fine. So if you are well prepared, I don't think you have to indulge in fillers too much, because the flow of your thought is unabated. Fine. So it happens, it's something natural. You cannot really be presenting in such a manner that there are no fillers, because that is obvious, because our tone is mostly conversational. And in conversations also, sometimes we use fillers. So it's
Yeah, we
quite
do.
obvious. Yeah, I mean, though it is undesirable in a professional communication where each and every second counts and you have to make the maximum out of it. My only take would be, if you are making use of fillers sometimes, not much,
I'm
then
actually,
then
I'm
it
actually
is quite
asking this for my students.
no
Actually, I see
student.
this habit, in my students. So I want them to hear and, get out of this.
No, you see,
Thank
they,
you.
they can be advised to prepare well, because if you have prepared well, you know your next step, so there is no need for you to stop and think. Fine. We also
True,
suggest
true.
that professional presentations should be shooting sharply out of your mouth, so that each and every second is counted and accounted for. Okay. So this will improve with presentation, practice of presentation, and at the same time elaborate preparations. So you can probably advise your students to prepare well, to be aware of their next step of presentation, to keep everything ready. I mean, when we give professional presentations, we pay attention to each and everything. What kind of figures will be there on my slide, whether it will be at the top or the bottom, whether it will be in the right half or the left half. Okay, what would be my examples? How should I begin? How should I proceed? How should I end? Fine. So if they are, trained that way, and if they are asked to make elaborate preparations and practice their presentations prior to giving one, certainly I think gradually they will come out of this habit. Fine.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Sir, I have
Good
a
afternoon, sir.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hello.
Swapnil, please.
My question is, sir, whenever we are there for PPT presentation, it happens that most of the time we follow the same traditional ways to giving the presentation. Many speakers I saw that whenever they while giving their presentation, they used to, I mean, their feet movement, their legs movement, and their body movement. They support it, even though in the theories it is shown that it is negative, but they applied them very well, and they try to catch the attention of the speaker. Now, what is it? I mean, is it against the theories, or what we have to do, or any innovative ways from your side while giving the presentation?
Swapnil, very good question. Actually, that is the difference we are finding. When I give a face-to-face presentation, Professor Chaube knows, because we have been, interacting for so many years, and he has attended many of my presentations. Physically, we are very animated when we are talking. You can understand my difficulty sitting in my chair and delivering the whole lecture. See, I'm telling you, controlled enthusiasm is welcome. As a presenter, you're not supposed to be wooden. You're supposed to be expressive. So a fine combination of your gestures, postures, and body movement will certainly complement your and enhance your presentation rather than distract your presentation. So I would suggest that but yes, I mean it has to be planned in such a way that it is not distracting. Fine. So I mean animated presentations are always the best ones. We don't want the speakers to be wooden, expressionless, or tied to a particular place. Fine.
Yeah, but sometimes it happens that over enthusiasm and over expressions can be remove you from the main theme or main idea. It happens most of the time. It happens with me most of the time whenever I stand for the presentation. It happens with this.
Yeah, that's the point I made. Initial nervousness is welcome, because that is something natural, and controlled enthusiasm. You must have enthusiasm, because enthusiasm is what is making you animated. Enthusiasm is what is making you desirable and human. So you must have enthusiasm, but you must not indulge in over enthusiasm. I told you, if you are over enthusiastic, then sometimes the chain of our thought is disturbed, and as a result, the rationality, the order, the rigor, they are all lost from our presentation. Fine? Yes.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, Bipin.
Yes, good afternoon, sir. First of all, thanks for the excellent session, sir. And my question is that, sir, there are some subjects or topics in which there is very less possibility of introducing pictures and animations to make the PPTs interesting. So, sir, for these cases, sir, what to do? As we know that the interesting PPTs or slides are very much required for, to fetch the attention of the audience.
Bipin ji, that's a very good question. But let me tell you one thing. Ajay and Renu can, tell me. When we talk about presentations, we always say that, in whole of the world, there are no uninteresting subjects. Rather, uninterested people there are. GK Certain had to say that. I'm not exactly wording it, I'm just paraphrasing it because I don't remember. So one thing is there, that there is no subject in this world which is uninteresting. People may be uninterested. And the point you're making, I can guess you're talking about mathematics or some other such technical subjects. You are right that we have less opportunities for inserting pictures, animations, and all that. But I believe our creativity and our real life examples can certainly, make up for all these losses. So I have seen some excellent mathematics teachers, some excellent technology teachers who have so well, compensated for this loss because of the nature of their subject. So I believe, you can be very creative. Otherwise, it's not about just putting, colorful slides or pictures or videos. One can be creative in so many different ways. So maybe your subject might not allow you to use animations and videos and images, but still I guess it can have ample scope for real life experiences, stories, or practical situations and problems. So probably that can sustain the interest of your audience. Right? Yes, Satyaprakash. Sonam wanted to ask some question. Sonam Dolkar.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, please.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Sir, I want to ask, sometimes we get discouraged between the presentation, maybe because of the interviewee or the audience, or maybe because we get nervous. So at that time, how to manage ourselves and how to continue with another energy or another enthusiasm? First question. And the second question is, many a times there is a specific time for any presentation, but we have less content or more content according to our knowledge and information we have. So how to manage according to the time and knowledge we have? Thank you, sir.
Okay. What was your first question?
Sir, about encouraging ourselves or motivating ourselves in between the presentation.
Okay. See, let me tell you one thing. There has to be a feeling of that special moment. You have to realize that moment. When you are making a presentation, this is not something usual. So you need to understand that this is a special occasion and it demands you to, improvise, rise above your mundane, thinking. So you would not realize that I had been down with some problems since this morning, and I didn't take my lunch also. I was just wondering whether I'll be able to conduct this 2-hour session. Took medicine and all, I had stomach ache and all that. But then you will not realize that I allowed that to, stop me from giving my best in this class. So this motivation comes from the realization of that particular moment. If we realize that this is something special and I have to rise to the occasion, we can certainly improvise. So this self-motivation has to come from within. The second question was, what was your second question?
Sir, it is about sometimes we have less information but more time, and
Yeah.
sometimes we have lot to say but we have very less time. So how
Yes.
to manage?
So let me tell you one thing. While in most of the presentations we come to know beforehand about the time that is given to us. So probably we can plan like that, and we can also keep some exigency or emergency plans in place. So I'm telling you, if it's a very important presentation and you would not like to miss it, I would suggest that you must visualize all sorts of situations. Let's say I have prepared the PPT, and if I'm not able to make use of it because there is some kind of electricity problem or there is some kind of problem, I may be able to deliver my lecture even without PPT. So I have to be ready for that. If you see, if I'm given 10-minute time on a topic which otherwise will be talked about in an hour or so, then I have to look for all those important details that can be detailed in 10 minutes. Rather than making narratives, if we can talk in bullets. So see, one has to be flexible enough, and that's why I talked about prerequisites. So prerequisites means you know your audience, you know your time, you know your sequence of presentation, you know what time of the day is it, you know the facilities available to you. So if you have a definite information about time duration, you can probably plan accordingly. Again, your question is if you know little and time is given more, so probably politely you can tell either you try to supplement your existing knowledge with additional knowledge and try to bring in more and more practical experience and examples to substantiate that, or you can clearly tell your organizers that on this topic I can only talk for half an hour or 45 minutes, not more than that. So I mean, that way we have to be elastic and flexible, and we have to prepare keeping everything in mind. Hope I have been able to help you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yes. Any other question? I know it's 3:55, so we are on time.
You have cleared all the doubts, sir, very happily. We are thankful to you.
Thank you very much, Renu ji.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. We all have, received several valuable inputs from your this session, sir. And I hope you must have enjoyed while interacting with such a large audience from
Yes.
different parts of the country.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for making
Thank you
me
so much, sir.
part of this. I can also see a lot of comments.
Ji. In the chat box, you can see the comments.
I'm grateful to all of you for that. Okay,
Ji.
thank you. So what is the next course of action? It's time.
Yes, sir. It is.
Big
We can
thank you,
wind
sir.
it up, sir.
Yeah, please. It's up to you.
Okay, okay, sir. Ji, ji.
sir.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank
Okay,
you, sir.
thank you. Thank
Pranam.
you very much. Acha. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for your kind words.
Thanks, sir. Thanks, sir. Thanks so much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
I'm signing off.
Yes, sir.
Ji, 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 sir.